Hi everybody, welcome to the unboxing video of the Nacon Revolution Pro Controller for the PlayStation 4. Just taking delivery of this yesterday. I haven't been in the box yet. The only thing I've done is actually cut the sellotape seals on the sides. So let's have a look and see what's in here. So for a start off, the box is very nicely ordered. So as you can see, it's got the logo on here, and it opens up like so, with all of this pressed packaging. Take this off, and there is the controller itself. Other things that we have in the box, because there is a second layer, we have some, collection of stickers by the look of it. Quite why, I don't really know, because it's not the sort of thing that an adult's really going to be using, but hey, we have this little device which is used for fixing to the top here, just to cover and protect that area. There is a bag that comes with it as well, and then finally we have a ribbon cable and some other things, very tightly packed, as you can see. But we have here the ribbon cable. It is a beaded cable, feels really quite stiff, but a nice quality to it as well. And then the other thing that we have here are weights. Now, I know that you would be forgiven for thinking that, well, in order to use those as weights, you've got to be really unfit or really small. But they are actually to go in the controller, because one of the things that this controller also has, because at the moment it's feeling really quite light, it feels about the same weight as a normal PlayStation controller. But what you can do is, on these areas here, is actually open them up, and then you can actually put in these weights. So type of weights that we've got here, that's 17 grams, and this is a 10 gram weight. This here is your key to open that up. So let's see how easy that is if I get it in the right way. There we go. Slightly fiddly at first, but I'm sure it's one of those things you're going to quickly get used to. And as you can see, at the moment there actually isn't any weights in here. Now, I like a really heavy controller, so I'm actually, you get 3 different size weights. Push that one out. So I'm going to put those to one side, and I'm going to put the heavy weights in there. So that's the right side one. These only evidently fit in one way, if I can actually see what way that is, like so. Put that back in, and then in this side, done it again on the same one. It's actually surprisingly quite fiddly to get those weights out, but they literally just clip in like so. Personally, I would have liked to have put all three of them in, but it's obviously been designed that you can't. So then put that in the right way like so. Turn the key, and it actually does feel quite a bit different in terms of the weight. The weight feels much more centered towards here. So I think one thing that might be actually quite interesting is trying the positions of the weights, maybe swapping them around, because that's going to change the centre of gravity in terms of those weights. So I'll just quickly do that now. Swap them about, because these weights go in either side, but it's whether or not you want that actual weight to come along and be at the very end of the handles or more into the body of the actual controller. That feels more balanced. That's actually quite nice now, because it means that this feels proportionate to the rest of the body, because you're naturally going to make it expect that this area of the controller feels heavier. So you also get this bag. Like so obviously to put your controller in, and also you get a cloth, presumably just to clean the marks and scars off the controller as well. Just put those two weights in there, might as well keep them safe and sound. So that is the controller in itself. The plug. Now this is very, very weird, because quite why they've actually decided to go through this sort of plug rather than a traditional USB, which would have been much cheaper to actually replace. If this cable goes, you're going to have to send off for a specialist cable. I don't like that. That to me seems like we've got your money, we want a little bit more. Because let's face it guys, we know on wired controllers, one of the things that goes the quickest is this area, because this is where all the wear and tear is. So not very impressed with that, to be quite honest with you. I would have liked them to have done something a little bit more customer friendly there, but hey ho, we can't have everything, can we? So in terms of fitting this, you evidently push that through to there, and then somehow line this up, which is really quite difficult to actually line up when you actually can't see where the areas are. But if I go with the theory, at least that the flat area is at the top. So you know already this is really quite a strange thing, because in order to be able to use this plug, you have to tighten that up like so. That's to reduce the wear and tear. The only problem is that there's an actual stop. That's bad design. I don't think I'm doing it wrong. It could be, but looking at the really quite poor instructions, unscrew that again. So on here there is a lineup. There we go. Just needed a little bit more force than I really wanted to give it. Place it in like so. And then we can, right, okay, so that makes sense. So it was me, so apologies for that. But that's it, that's the actual controller itself. So in terms of the features that this controller has, obviously it's got the left and right analog sticks with a 46 degree amplitude for accuracy. It's got 4 shortcut buttons for bespoke custom setup. It has adjustable weight for tailored balance, which I've already showed you. Obviously the 8-way directional pad, which is good for games like Street Fighter, Tekken, etc. The dual analog triggers and twin shoulder buttons. The standard PlayStation buttons. It's got the share button. It's got the PlayStation button here, right there, and also the options button. There is the touchpad as well. The LED player display indicator, which is there. 35mm head jack down here, the 3-meter wired cable, and obviously the storage pouch, which is there. So that's the controller in itself. As it is now, it will operate in a generic PlayStation 4 controller mode. So let's have a close-up look at the controller. So here's what it looks like. Very attractive. It's now plugged into my PC at the moment, just so that you're aware. That's why this blue ring is actually showing on now as well. As you can see, it's got all of the standard buttons that we have. The options button up here. We have the share button. Obviously there's the trackpad, which is very nice. There is quite a height in terms of the sticks, and as you can see, the sticks are also metal, so you don't get that shaving effect that some people do get with their controllers. Obviously the PlayStation button doesn't work on the PC, but it will light up once you switch it on the PlayStation itself. The D-pad feels very nice as well to the use, but it's this extra height in terms of your standard kind of stick that some people might find a little bit difficult really to get used to when initially playing with the controller. As a bit of a comparison, when you look at this controller to the standard PlayStation controller, that's really quite a narrow sort of height there on the controller, as you can see, whereas on this one here, that is a great big amount of depth there. Obviously the two differences with the two sticks as well. This one is curved outwards, whereas this one allows your thumb to fit nicely into that there. So it actually feels really comfortable when you're actually using it. I'm not keen on this stick, I have to admit. I mean, it's got the nice logo there in terms of who it is who's doing it, but I don't like that as a stick. I would much have preferred that they'd have used the option of this one here, so that your thumb actually feels like it fits in. The other side of the controller, this is where we have some of the magic of the controller. We have our modes. So there's two modes. There is normal mode, which is mode 1. This is just the controller being in normal PlayStation mode. So it operates pretty much exactly the same as a standard PlayStation 4 controller. And then if we split things into mode 2, this is where we get a difference on this side. and this is now lit red. And you will also see here there is a little red light, and there's obviously another one there, but also on this side which are not presently lit. Now all I'm going to do on here is I'm going to press this button here, the profile button, if I can remember which side it's on when I flip it over, and the profile button flips between the 4 profiles that you can actually download onto this as a controller. So you can actually change depending upon what type of game that you're playing, and you can set up 4 different profiles for basically the way that you like to play. The other thing that this controller has as well is these macro buttons, M1, 2, 3 and 4, which are completely configurable within the software that comes with the controller. So as you can see, really nice controller. It is that matte black. Like I said before, it doesn't feel as rubbery as the standard, or not the standard, but the Xbox Elite controller. It's slightly nicer to the touch, but it still does leave that slightly chalky feel to your skin when you actually touch this, if you understand what I mean. But nevertheless, still really nice, really attractive controller. Bumper wise, if we look at here, as you can see, we have the standard buttons there. They feel much more like your standard Xbox One kind of controller. In terms of the triggers, you know, they're quite nice there. The only thing is it doesn't have the cushioned feeling at the end. And then we have obviously the bumper buttons here, and very nice sort of clicky sound to those on both sides. These ones obviously slightly different, but still a very nice looking controller, and that's that. So let's have a look at the software and see how we can change our settings on this. In order to be able to get the best out of this controller and have the custom profiles which you can put on this device, what you will need is a PC, and you will also need to download the software from their website. Here's the website right here. It's nacongaming.com, and to download the software, just go to the Revolution Pro Controller, and the software version is here. Once that's been installed, you will have this screen pop up. You do need to have the controller plugged into your PC to be able to do this. Just for ensuring that everything will work okay, I'm also going to switch this controller onto the Pro mode, which is where you activate the actual profiles as well. So when you first load this up, it will say here that there is a firmware update ready for download. All that you need to do is update the controller to have the latest firmware. I'll show you how to do that shortly. So we click on the little play button, and here we have our different controls. This side of the screen, first off, going here, this is the 4 profiles that we can have, and we can select the profiles. These are the ones that are on the device at the moment. I can create my own profiles if I want. I can edit the profile name. I can do all sorts of things, or I can just click on create a new one. So type it in, profile 2, click save, and now what this allows me to do is change the settings here, so I can do things like increase the size of the dead zone on the controller. I can increase the initial sensitivity to the mid-range right the way through to the highest level, and as you can see, this is the shape of the curve as it comes along here. You can only control 2 out of these 3 things, which is a bit weird, but I can understand why they've done that. If you're happy with that, then you would just click on save. I'm not going to save this. Mapping, you can map any button to any button. So if you're really the type of person who wants L1 as X and R1 as a circle and vice versa, then you can do that. It's entirely up to you. But this is where you can actually control all of that. Triggers, you can change the level of sensitivity in terms of the triggers, in terms of the initial, the mid-range and the full amount. So it does actually give you nice control there, and obviously for having a hairpin trigger you can really reduce that level so that it will actually trigger to full at a much earlier time, which as I said is nice for first person shooters. Also can increase the range a little bit more for driving, things like that. Finally, we have the macros, and here this is really quite a nice feature because in order to do a macro I can press a button, click on that, click a triangle, put in a short delay, then do add a right trigger on there and add that in, etc, etc. So I build up what my my macro is going to be and assign that to one of the macro buttons, so when I press one of these at the back, it will just go through that whole process without me having to actually lay my finger on any of the buttons. Nice feature, I feel, especially if you're into your Tekken kind of games, or any other sort, Injustice, Gods Among Us, something like that, where you want to get the really complicated moves done every time, then you can cheat to do it, basically. So we'll reset that, go back home. We can switch off the rear shortcuts with the macros if we want, with the backlight in we can switch on and off as well, and the vibration on and off. Going down here to general settings, I mentioned before about the firmware. We can do the firmware here, so we can check for the firmware. Mine's up to date at the moment, otherwise it would have come up and said update your firmware now. The other thing that we can do in terms of this is change the blink rate of the light. So as you can see, that's slowly blinking now. I can do it to a medium speed, and I can do it to a quick speed. Personally, I don't like it. I'll just keep it off. And you can also decrease the sensitivity of that, so you can dim it a little bit. To be honest, if this had have been a wireless controller, I could see the point of it. The only reason why I can't see the point of it at the moment is if you're trying to play a game, well actually no, I was going to say in the dark and you don't want people to see, but they'll still be able to see you on the TV, and even if you're wearing a VR headset, they'd be able to see that you've got a VR headset on. So I really don't see the point in this slider unless it was a battery operated device. Lastly, we have the vibrate function, which we can change the intensity to. As you can see, the left and the right ones are actually at different settings, and that's by default, so I'm not sure why that is. But that's how the software operates. That's the controller. It is a very nice controller. Overall, I feel it's very expensive for a wired controller. It should have been wireless, but then again, we do want to ensure that we actually can keep playing the games and have a longer life than the existing PlayStation controllers. Other than that, I think it is really nice. The one thing that you do need to be aware of is the fact that there is no light bar on here. That does actually come up with the colour, but it's not really designed to be trackable by VR or anything like that. The other thing that is missing from this controller is something that is on the standard one, and it's right in the middle of the screen there, and that is the little speaker. This new controller does not have that speaker. But in terms of playing, the extra height on the sticks really does. It takes a little while to get used to, because your thumbs are further up. But once you do get used to it, it's amazing how that really does make the controller feel so much better. Likewise here, these are at a bit of an odd angle, but I think eventually I will get to grips with them. But the shoulder buttons feel a lot better. And that's my review. Hope you've enjoyed this unboxing video today and review of the controller. As I said, really nice controller, but a bit expensive. It's a consider before you buy sort of purchase. You can, if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Leave your comments in the box below as well. It would be good to get some comments back on the videos, because not many people do leave comments. Also, if you want to listen to more of my views on things, then you can join me on the Cranky Gamers UK podcast. So we're available on not on YouTube. We are available on YouTube. There is a channel on there run by Toz. So if you've enjoyed this video, then please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. If you do subscribe, then if you click the bell button, you'll be notified when I release more videos. I'm doing a few more than normal at the moment, so please keep an eye out for my Star Wars theories and other ones that I'm doing. If you've also, you can listen to me on the Cranky Gamers UK podcast. I also have a blog, and you can follow me on Twitter. Twitter name is HERJUK. Thanks for listening. Hope you've enjoyed it, and hopefully see you next time. Bye.